I always thought weddings were supposed to be beautiful. Lying, laughing, and tears, none of them were supposed to cut through like a knife. Yet there I was, in a room full of strangers, staring at the man I was supposed to call my husband, as he whispered promises to someone else. Funny how irony tastes like champagne and burnt toast. The church bells outside rang like mocking laughter. Michael, my soon-to-be husband, had that polished smile plastered on his face, the one he used to charm everyone at his office, at his parents' dinner parties, and apparently at the bar just last week with someone who wasn't me. I clenched my hands beneath the crisp white folds of my custom-tailored suit, feeling the control slip through my fingers like sand. No one knew what I truly was. A businessman? A wealthy heir? A modest philanthropist? They would all laugh if they knew. I wasn't just a figure at a wedding or a fancy man in a tailored suit. I was the head of a clandestine mafia syndicate, the kind whispered about in shady corners of Brooklyn and Manhattan alike. Michael had no idea the man he was betraying wasn't just hurt. He was dangerous. The ceremony began, and every step felt like walking on glass. The soft murmurs of the guests, the rustle of silk, the delicate notes of the string quartet, it all blurred into background noise, a world that had nothing to do with the storm raging inside me. I caught sight of Michael's hand brushing against the other man's, and a laugh escaped me that was bitter enough to curdle the champagne. I could see the relief in the other man's eyes, the thrill of being wanted, but he had no idea what he had just walked into. I moved forward, slow, calculated, the kind of precision that comes from years of living in shadows. My mother's pearls bounced slightly with each step, reminding me of the life I had to maintain publicly, the smile I had to wear, and the mask I had perfected. My father's gaze was proud, blind to the game unraveling. Everyone was blind. Everyone except me. Michael didn't notice the change in my demeanor. How could he? I wasn't just heartbroken, I was composed, dangerous, and above all, patient. The kind of patience that allowed me to plan, to observe, to strike at the perfect moment. The moment wasn't now, of course. Now was about observation, about letting him bask in his ignorance. As the officiant asked the ritualistic questions, my voice, when it finally emerged, was calm and steady. I repeated my vows with precision, every syllable dripping with irony. He didn't know I meant something entirely different, a promise that would haunt him long after the reception ended. I watched him exchange vows with a grin too confident, unaware that his actions had set a chain reaction that no amount of charm could undo. The reception hall glittered under crystal chandeliers. Guests laughed, clinked glasses, and danced without realizing the tension coiled between two men like a predator ready to strike. I drifted through the crowd, unnoticed, unseen, savoring the quiet storm inside. Every laugh, every toast, every fake display of joy was a layer masking the truth. I had worn this mask my entire life, and Michael, with all his charisma, thought he could hide deceit behind fleeting smiles. And then, in the corner of the room, I saw him, the man from last week who had laughed in Michael's face, unaware that the one he toyed with was no ordinary fiancé. I approached slowly, letting the music guide my steps, every eye in the room oblivious to the subtle war unfolding before them. The room was vast, the camera of life catching only fragments, yet somehow, it seemed as if the universe had orchestrated this confrontation down to the smallest detail. The glow of candlelight reflecting off crystal glasses, the soft rustle of silk gowns, the murmurs of oblivious guests. I stopped behind Michael, feeling the tension rise in my chest like coiled steel. I could see the relief in his eyes, the unspoken relief that he had someone else to lean on. He had no idea that leaning on me had always been dangerous. Every touch, every whispered word between them was a spark threatening to ignite a controlled explosion. And I, smiling faintly, was the fuse. For a moment, the world slowed. I allowed myself a glance at the skyline outside the windows, the New York skyline at twilight. A city that never sleeps, much like the side of me that Michael had never truly seen. I imagined the chaos I could unleash if I wanted to. The men, the money, the power, it all waited for a signal. A single thought from me, to descend upon this hall and erase every lie, every betrayal. But I didn't. Not yet. For now, the plan was patience. observation, the slow, sweet unraveling of illusions. Michael had chosen ignorance over honesty, lust over commitment. I could destroy him, dismantle his carefully constructed life with the same ease I signed contracts, ordered shipments, or made someone disappear from this city without a trace. Instead, I sipped my champagne, watched the dance of laughter and pretense, and let the bitterness settle on my tongue. The world had not yet caught up with the truth of who I was. He would learn soon enough, but the timing had to be perfect. The stakes had to be high. The revelation had to sting. And in the quiet corner of that lavish hall, beneath the sparkling chandeliers and surrounded by unsuspecting faces, I felt the first twinges of anticipation. A dangerous thrill that only came when power and emotion intertwined. This wasn't just heartbreak, it was strategy. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a lesson Michael would never forget. The music swelled, and Michael finally noticed me standing there, the quiet storm I had been all along. His confident smile faltered, replaced by something that was almost fear. Almost. He hadn't realized until now that the man he had underestimated was standing right behind him, calm, composed, and deadly. "You're enjoying yourself," he said, voice trembling slightly, a thin attempt at bravado. "I always do," I replied smoothly, my tone dripping with irony. "Especially when people think they know me." For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. The crowd, the music, the laughter, all of it became a distant blur. It was just the two of us, eyes locked, secrets dancing between us. He realized, too late, that the man he had toyed with wasn't just heartbroken, was in control. Every choice, every whisper, every glance, it all belonged to me now. And yet, as much as he had betrayed me, as much as anger burned in my chest, I couldn't help the faint pull in my heart. Michael's face softened as our gazes met, regret laced with longing. He didn't know about the Mafia, about the life I led in shadows, but he could feel the power, the magnetism that drew him in despite his missteps. I stepped closer, deliberately slow, letting the tension stretch between us. Every movement was calculated, every breath a silent declaration of ownership, not just of him, but of the connection we had forged despite the lies. "You made your choice?" I whispered, letting the words hang, dangerous and heavy. "I know," he admitted, voice barely audible. "And I'm sorry. I was stupid. I was selfish. I didn't realize what I had until I almost lost it." I could see it in his eyes, the vulnerability he never showed anyone. The man who charmed every crowd, who played every game, was suddenly just a boy in front of me, and for the first time it felt like he understood the storm he had walked into. "You should have known better," I murmured, letting a small, controlled smile slip. "But you're here, and that counts for something." The music shifted, softer now, more intimate, almost as if the world was giving us this moment. I reached out, letting my hand brush against his. He froze, then slowly, hesitantly, met my touch. That simple contact was electric, a spark that ignited everything unspoken between us. "You don't understand," he whispered. "I've never felt anything like this. Not with anyone." "And you think I haven't?" I countered, a glint of mischief in my eyes. "I felt it too. The pull, the danger, the thrill of being close to you, even when I should hate you." The crowd faded completely now. It was just us, the city lights casting a soft glow through the tall windows. The New York skyline blinked in the distance, indifferent, yet somehow romantic, framing the moment like a perfect photograph. I saw the shift in him, the way his shoulders relaxed, the tension melting away, replaced by something softer, something more honest. I pulled him gently into my arms, feeling the warmth of his body against mine. His breath hitched, his hands trembling slightly as they rested against my chest. I held him tight, letting the chaos of the day wash away in a single, perfect moment. "You're mine," I said quietly, not in threat, but in declaration. "And maybe, just maybe, I'll let you stay." His laugh was shaky, surprised, but full of relief. "I'll prove it," he whispered, I'll do whatever it takes. I know, I replied. I've always known. For the first time since the wedding started, he kissed me softly, at first tentative, testing the waters. And then deeper, with all the longing and regret and passion that had been buried under layers of lies and betrayal. I matched him, letting the fire between us blaze, burning away every trace of the past and replacing it with something new, something real, something ours. The guests noticed, of course. Whispers rippled through the crowd. But I didn't care. Michael didn't care. In that moment, nothing else existed but the two of us. The city stretching endlessly beyond the windows, and the undeniable truth that despite all the mistakes, all the deception, we had found each other again. As we pulled back, foreheads touching, I allowed a small, genuine smile. This doesn't change everything, I said softly, but it's a start. And it's a start I'll never ruin, he promised, eyes glistening. I swear. I nodded, letting the weight of power and vulnerability settle comfortably between us. Michael had no idea who I really was, and maybe that was for the best. Some truths were better revealed in time. For now, he knew the most important one. That despite everything, we belonged to each other. Outside, the city lights sparkled like distant stars. Inside, the music swelled again, slower, more intimate. Guests slowly returned to their festivities, unaware that history had quietly shifted, that a story of betrayal had transformed into one of love, danger, and a promise of something eternal. I let my hand linger over his, feeling the steady warmth, the rhythm of a heart that had nearly broken but now beat for both of us. The tension that had held me taut like a drawn bow released, replaced by a soft, steady power. Not the kind that threatened, but the kind that protected. Stay close, I murmured, voice low, almost a purr. This world is ours now, ours entirely. He leaned into me, smiling softly, and I knew then that the past had been a lesson, a test of patience and strength. And as the night carried on, with laughter, music, and the subtle sparkle of city lights, I realized that maybe, just maybe, the greatest power was love, the kind that could survive betrayal, danger, and secrets and still shine brighter than anything else. In that moment, in the quiet intimacy of a chaotic, extravagant wedding hall, Michael and I found something more valuable than revenge, more thrilling than control, and more enduring than fear. We found each other, and for the first time in a long time, I believed in the possibility of happiness. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.